7:35, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here and joined on the Newsmaker Hotline by Senator Marsha Blackburn. Senator, always great to have you on, and you've been busy, so I just want to throw a bunch of questions out at you. One of them will be, give me your synopsis, your take on President Trump's first 100 days. But first, I know that you were at this event yesterday, the whole Invest in America initiative. There was an event yesterday, I covered it earlier, where it's all part of Trump's tariffs plan, where he is looking to bring more investment and more jobs into America. So talk about, number one, how that event went, and number two, after that event, does it look like we are going to see more companies and more countries bringing jobs back to America?
Well, yes, indeed. It was such an honor to join him at the White House. And he had 4 or 5 of us from the Senate and 6 or 7 from the House that have been working on the economic viability and regeneration for our nation. And I was pleased to be included in that. And what you saw was a variety of different CEOs, companies that are doing direct foreign investment into the U.S. and also U.S. companies that are doing expansions here, both for the U.S. market and for export. And since President Trump took office, there has been an $8 trillion push and commitment of investments in the U.S. by different companies. So to be there yesterday to talk through these issues, to join several of the cabinet members, Secretary Lutnick, Secretary Bondi, Secretary Rollins, and different ones to talk about how this is going to expand our economic opportunity in the country. And of course, we know Tennessee has done very well in economic expansion since President Trump won. And they've landed more than 30 companies and have seen an increase of 1,200 jobs and investment of $1.2 billion in our state since November. So Commissioner McWhorter and also Governor Lee are to be commended for that. Their teams are working hard. And as people are saying, we want to be a part of the U.S. economy, and they are wanting to avoid tariffs by manufacturing here, then they are stepping forward and making those investments.
Let me ask you, because there is so many people out there that are hating on Donald Trump, and Senator, you and I both know these polls are ridiculous, talking about how poorly the American people are receiving these tariffs. Some of that fake polling has been now exposed. But as you hear from Tennesseans and as you hear from people who supported President Trump in the last election, are you hearing of any concerns over the tariff negotiations and the impact that it'll have on our economy?
We have not had a lot of pushback. I talked with several people last week as I was home, and they were talking about the tolerance of the American people or accounts that they are managing for families, retirement accounts, things of that nature. They fully understand that President Trump's goal is to get inflation down and to get the cost of living down long term. And that because of that, going to reciprocal tariffs or no tariffs is something that is going to be good. Bringing advanced manufacturing jobs back here, securing those investments so that wages are higher and more opportunity exists, they get that. And so I do think there is a lot of fake polling that is out there that is pushing this narrative of doom and gloom And where there are tariff pressures with our auto manufacturers, as we saw this week, President Trump has relaxed those. That is good for Nissan and VW and Toyota and GM that have facilities in our state. There are other companies like chemical companies, people that also manufacture equipment that our entertainers use for concerts and as they travel. We are working through that process as we speak with the U.S. trade rep to get some exemptions. We've got a company that does a lot of medical supplies. We are working as we speak, trying to get an exemption for them. And the U.S. trade rep has been very open to working with the White House and working to abate some of these tariffs so that we help these individuals work through this. Now, many companies have been trying to get out of China for the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years. And we are seeing a big impact on that as they're moving out. And these companies, we're trying to help them kind of walk through this and avoid some of the tariffing. Likewise, for our ag community, Dan, what we're working on there is to have China meet their quotas. And last evening, I met with a group of people that are very much involved with that. And what they want to see is for China to recognize the quotas that they're committed to on our cotton, on our soy. They want Canada to recognize the quotas that they're committed to on our dairy products that are coming out of East Tennessee. And so making certain that we are pushing to defend Tennesseans and also American companies as we work through this. That is our goal, a healthier economy, an economy that is going to be productive and yield a benefit for the American people for decades to come. Decades. And this is what we're doing.
It's interesting, Senator Blackburn. I had Commissioner McWhorter on the show yesterday, and you're reiterating what he said about the dangers of China and how Tennessee has backed away from our relationship with China in the last several years. Senator Hagerty was on this show a couple of weeks ago saying the same thing. Do you have a prediction? You're far closer to all of this than we are here in Tennessee, of course. You have inside information and so forth as far as China's economy and when they may actually crack. Do you have any input as to when China will finally come to the table with President Trump and get serious about negotiations?
Well, according to our trade rep, we have 20 countries that are trying to finalize not only tariff but also trade deals with the United States. We understand from Secretary Lutnick, he has one he is about ready to announce. Of course, we announced the Ukraine minerals deal yesterday right after the press conference at the White House. So I think as these begin to be announced, Dan, I think that what you're going to see is people coming to the table, China coming to the table. They do not want to be the last ones coming to the table. And we know 80 countries have already reached out to get into the queue. As I said, 20 of those deals are being negotiated with the trade rep. We know there are others that are being negotiated through Commerce and through the Treasury Secretary. We know President Trump is going to be involved in each of those, and we know that those deals are going to be tariffs and trade. And as I told a group of Tennesseans in the office yesterday, bear in mind, President Trump wanted to do bilateral trade deals during his first term. And people said, oh, no, you need to do the TPP. You need to do it all as a region. And what we're seeing now is the construction of not only tariff but trade agreements in a bilateral manner. This is good for the American people.
Senator, I've got to ask, so we have, of course, the big, beautiful bill that is being negotiated now, and the Senate and the Republicans in the House, you're trying to get this through reconciliation and onto the president's desk. How do you think that's going? I know it's just beginning, but I mean, the two sides are pretty far off in the Senate and the House of Representatives as far as what each side's goals are. How do you think that negotiation is going to go?
I think the negotiation is going very well. Bear in mind, the House is working off the Senate budget numbers. That's a good thing. We passed ours, which is a $6.5 trillion budget, not a $7.1 trillion budget, which is what the House was. So they're working off of our numbers. That gives you a deeper cut on the front end. We put in a floor for cuts. So you have to hit a minimum of this number of cuts, and we put in a ceiling for spending. And every day we get closer on this. The House has their committees working through this and crafting their components. So this week we understand they will vote on it. Next week, in committees, they will get it to the floor the week following and over to us, and we will finish the work on it. We're continuing our work and our meetings this week and working through it. As a member of the Senate Finance Committee, the bill does come to us, and so we are not sitting around waiting to receive the bill. We're working ahead so that when it comes, we can quickly put the Senate stamp on it and get it to the president's desk.
Wall Street Journal, Senator, as we close out, Wall Street Journal came out with a report that Meta still is not protecting kids. I know that you've been on the forefront of this with Senator Blumenthal. Talk about that report and what you're doing about it.
Oh, my goodness, Dan, this is the worst thing that they have done yet. They have a chatbot that they have created. This is all AI, and they have released it for public use. Kids are able to use this, and this is what the Wall Street Journal report focused on, the investigative work they did representing as a 14-year-old girl or a 17-year-old boy. And it is sexually explicit conversation. And this is horrific. Here's a bad thing. They know that kids are using this because their team members have told the leadership team at Meta that kids are using this. And this bot is on Instagram, and it's on WhatsApp, it's on Facebook, it's on Snapchat, and still they will not take it down. They are so given and so corrupt and so selfish that they use our kids as a product, and they use them as a profit motive. And because they can keep kids online longer, which gives them more data, which means they make more money because they're capturing more eyeballs, they continue with this. So Senator Blumenthal and I have written Meta. We are demanding that they remove this, and we are continuing our push to get Kids Online Safety Act passed out of the Senate with a 91-3 vote, and we're looking forward to having the House continue. We're passing it again in the Senate. The House needs to get their act together, pass this bill. Let's get it to the president's desk. So these social media platforms cannot say kids are a product. We're making money off of them. They're a great profit stream for us. And so we're not going to stop exposing them to pornography and drugs and alcohol and traffickers. You could never do that in the physical space. They do it every single day. In the virtual space, it is time for it to stop. And this latest thing they're doing is horrific.
All right, Senator, with that, I appreciate you trying to protect kids, and we'll talk to you again very soon. I know that our time is limited, so thank you for joining us here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 7:50 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Joan, if Are you watching the weather? How are we doing? It's 7:50, and I just looked outside, and I do see some clouds.
Okay.
But I think that so far, it looks like the rally down at the Nashville Public Library
Is safe. Yeah.
so far.
All right. I'm looking on a radar right now.
We could call Stefano DiPietro. Didn't he?
Oh,
Didn't
we
he
could.
agree?
He said anytime you
He said
need me.
anytime.
Anytime at all.
All you had to do is call,
I'm
and he'd be there.
going to do it.
I just coined a song,
Yeah.
just so you know. It's whatever. Anyway, so
It doesn't count unless you sing it,
I trust me. Nobody wants me to sing.
I tried.
Yeah.
So let me. Should I reach out to him?
Why don't we call? Stefano DiPietro?
Yeah.
And we want to. He'll love this. All weather people do. How is the weather going to be over the Nashville Public Library between 9 and 10 o'clock, 10:30 this morning? Tell him we want to know.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Inquiring minds want to know.
All right, I'm calling.
Make sure you tell him. I'm going to try to pin him down to find out exactly how it's going to go.
Yeah. He may have to come on the air with us.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I want him to come on the air, and I want him to, we're not going to drag him into the politics of the whole thing.
Right.
I'm not going to run by, my name for Mayor Freddie O'Connell is tax and spend Freddie.
Right.
I'm not going to tell him that. He probably wouldn't appreciate that. But, Did you text him yet?
I'm doing it right now.
That's silence from Joan. You can tell she's texting.
I can't do two things at once anymore.
She's like me. She can't talk and text at the same time.
So I'll tell you what, it's coming up in the news instead. How's that?
Fine. But just see if it'll come on at like 8:06. It'll just be very quick.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Now,
All right,
what's
cool.
coming up in the news at 8?
So we'll tell you what Secretary of State Marco Rubio revealed about his predecessors yesterday and some of the details of that minerals deal between the U.S. and Ukraine. It's all coming up here at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.